Hey fellow questers, make sure to catch up on the entire Dragon Quest X saga from beginning to end with this convenient playlist located in this card or the description down below.
Welcome to Awesome Video Game Memories, where we talk about awesome memories about video games. I'm Ryan, and the game we're going to talk about today is Dragon Quest X, the King of Calamity Saga. I went over the King of Calamity Saga pretty briefly in my version 1 review, but now I'm here to tell you the entire story because it is one of the best side stories in the game. You first encounter the King of Calamity during the Kami-Harumi Major Key Emblem quest on the Elf continent, where you go to Gakipuchi village to get a leaf of the Dark Tree for King Nikoroi. Man, remember how brave I was when I went over that part? I mean, I was like a real hero, guys. So on our way to the Dark Forest to get the leaf of the Dark Tree, we go to Gakipuchi village, and then we see, oh my god, it's under attack by Estark! Okay, I might have been a little melodramatic, but you know. Anyways, like most people, I was thinking this was actually Estark from Dragon Quest IV, but much meaner looking. But once you start doing the myth quest in order to fight him, you finally get an understanding of his origin story. He is referred to Sayaku no O, which means the King of Calamity / disaster, etc. And we're going to be going over his entire saga in this video. And just like we do here on Awesome Video Game Memories, there will be spoilers, so stick around. In order to access the myth quest, you need to get through the initial cutscene at Gakipuchi village and then talk to Cosette near the ravine in order to start them. However, you can't finish the entire myth quest storyline until you get all 10 of the minor and major key emblems from version 1. So after Sage Rhodia and her group fend off the King of Calamity and send him back down to the underworld, she says that she'll be waiting for the one who has the will to fight and who will get the king's armor from all 5 of the continents. After we take on the first quest, we're told to go to Gobble Desert on the Dwarf continent and approach a palace which we are told by Sage Rhodia is the Land of Trials and the Throne of Champions. It's protected by a tornado that never stops, and the only way to enter is with the king's armor, which is handed down to all of the rulers of the 5 continents throughout the generations. Once we get all of the king's armor, Sage Rhodia will do the final ritual for us to face the King of Calamity. So we travel to the Ogre continent first to get the first part of the armor, which is the helmet. Then we go to the Pukulipo / Poppet continent to talk to Prince Raguis, and he says we must talk to King Epot, who saved Megistris a long time ago. So Prince Raguis talks to the statue of King Epot, and it begins to glow and tells us to show the qualities that Prince Raguis has as a king. Raguis says that a king is the one who protects the happiness of the people who live there, and who devotes himself to the development of a country even at his own expense. King Epot says there is something required to get into the tower where the king's armor piece is, and that thing is the king's life! But King Epot says that someone next to Prince Raguis deserves to be the king. Oh wait, who, me? Oh no, I don't want to die, I want to fight the King of Calamity. So King Epot is insistent that Prince Raguis dies so we can get the king's armor piece, but he refuses, saying that his life is the one his mother and father gave him and that he will protect the country with his own life. And King Epot is actually impressed with Raguis's bravery and praises him as a good king and lets us get into the tower to get part of the king's armor. After we traverse through the tower and beat the boss, a voice says that we are the true king of this world and gives us the king's trowel. And the voice says that the tower will close again before more wickedness arrives. And on our quest to get the king's armor from the Wetty / Wetling continent, our old pal Cat Ribeiro meets us on the dock. Planning to take over the Cat Kingdom again? Captain Cat Pants? So we tell Cat Ribeiro that we're looking for the descendants of the cat heroes Cat Barbad and Cat Rude, and Cat Ribeiro says that he's the descendant of Cat Barbad. Oh great, now we need your help to get the king's armor, bro. And Cat Ribeiro says that he who sees a shining cloak draws the blood of a hero, and 2 people rest their hands and match their powers. They pray together in the fall of the eternal underground labyrinth and the road will be open. And he also says that the descendant of the other cat is probably Wetty Swordsman Fuser! I see now! It's the destiny of the descendants to fight, just like Naruto and Sasuke! Cat Ribeiro plans to get his revenge on Fuser for spoiling his plan, but decides to help us out anyways after telling us an old story about battling an old rival. We meet up with Cat Ribeiro inside the Eternal Underground Labyrinth, and we both fail to open up the path to the king's armor. Sadly, Cat Ribeiro says we should probably give up since we may not really be destined to be the king of the world who wears the armor. However, Fuser mysteriously appears and is wondering why Cat Ribeiro says he killed him. Cat Ribeiro says he was just messing around, and Fuser says that he'll help us get the king's armor. Cat Ribeiro and Fuser use their swords to open the way to the king's armor, as they are both the descendants of Cat Barbad and Cat Rude, and a portal opens. Fuser and Cat Ribeiro leave as we go down to deal with the guardian of the labyrinth. Oh thanks guys, some descendants you are. Once we defeat the boss, we get the King's Cloak. On the Elf continent, we go back to the abandoned castle and search for the next King's armor piece, and we encounter an elf named Bashu who tells us to check the throne on the way to the King's armor piece. And after defeating the Guardian, we get the King's Boots. Our last piece of armor is in the Urbea ruins, where we hear a voice from the 7th Urbea Emperor, Borang Munis. Man, if this game ever gets localized, we better shorten that name. How about Emperor Brian? Emperor Borang Munis says that he's always kept the King's armor safe with the Hammer of the Three Warriors and gives it to us. He says that many dwarves lost their lives fighting against the Calamity, but their corpses led the way to the King's Road. Emperor Borang Munis tells us his role is over and for us to get the King's armor piece. We talk to King Arad and tell him we got the Hammer of the Three Warriors, and he says that when he was growing up, he heard a story of when disaster struck the world, a person would appear and find the shield of the Three Warriors. Since we got the hammer, King Arad now gives us the shield, and now that we have the 3 sacred treasures, it's time to go down to the Temple of the Three Fighters. We go to the temple and all the weapons and shield of the 3 warriors begin to shake and crumble apart as soon as they open the temple. Once we defeat the guardian of the temple, we finally get the King's shield. So once we go to the Throne of Champions with all the King's armor, the whirlwind disappears and we can finally enter. Inside we need to defeat all 10 of the major key emblem bosses once again, and once we do that, the statue inside tells us that it once descended from the heavens and challenged the disasters with the holy dragon Grenal, who seek the qualification of a champion to fight the Calamity, who has appeared in the present world. And we're told that the brave warriors who once fought against the Calamity will join us in our battle. So we finally reunite with Sage Rhodia, who calls us the King of Time and tells us to view the light as it will show us the tale of Grenal, who will tell us of the past. Rhodia tries to activate the light, but it doesn't work and says that we need to find the dragon's fire, and we can find it from a fire lizard in the Mountain of Flames in Karsadora volcano on the dwarf continent. Once we get back the dragon's fire, we give it to Sage Rhodia, and after she gives us the light of the fire, it wakes up and begins to talk to us as Holy Dragon Grenal. Grenal realizes that the time of Calamity has come back and asks if we're the King of Time. And Holy Dragon Grenal says that he remembers that he flew with a champion in the sky and would also like to guide us to where the King of Calamity sleeps, but can no longer fly with his body. With the King of Calamity growing more powerful as he sleeps, Grenal says that he will give us a new power. Grenal summons a key and gives it to Sage Rhodia, saying that the key will respond to those chosen as the champion, calling it the Key to the King. With the key, 8 people can team up and challenge the King of Calamity since it is a raid battle. Even if we can't win alone, we can get the help of 8 other people. Grenal wishes us luck and awaits the next generation, and Rhodia awaits us in the ruins of Gakapuchi village and gives us time to prepare. As soon as we enter the portal to the underworld, Sage Rhodia warns us that the land is covered in darkness due to the magic power of the King of Calamity. Now, the underworld is a timed dungeon, but you should have more than enough time to complete it in full. Once we traverse through the underworld, we finally face off against the King of Calamity, but he seems to be in a state of drowsiness. Hey guys, I think we should tickle his feet. And Sage Rhodia says that we only have 30 minutes to defeat him and we engage in battle. And this is where he pretty much kicked my ass multiple times until I started version 2 and got to level 86, because I couldn't exactly beat him at level 75. So after we beat the King of Calamity, Sage Rhodia appears and congratulates us. Finally, it's over! Or is it? So Rhodia says she'll tell all of the rulers of the world that the King of Calamity has been defeated and that we should be called the true king. I don't know, something feels kind of off. Rhodia realizes that things aren't over and goes into despair. I could have seen that coming a mile away! So Rhodia tells us to meet up with her and Cosette at Gakapuchi village later because it obviously ain't over yet. So we meet up with Sage Satera, the blue-haired one, and she claims she was once in prison in this area. What? However, a big dark Gigantes approaches us and Satera begins to have flashbacks and says defeating the Gigantes may be the key to unlocking her memories. After we defeat it, a light from its corpse goes into Sage Satera and she says that Monster was the one who embodied her past guilt. She says she heard a child's voice here once and we get a flashback of Satera's past. We're at a church in Lendor and a boy named Teddy is crying with Satera being a priestess. Teddy tells her of a storm that happened while sailing with his father and is wondering if his father will ever return. Oh no. I can see where this is going. And Satera tells Teddy that while she was praying, she heard the voices of the stars watching over Teddy's dad's ship from the sky, and they said that his dad will be coming back safely soon. And Satera confesses that she'd like to cheer Teddy up, and after Teddy's father actually did come back, she began making up false truths to encourage the children. Adults even began to say she was some kind of prophet. But however, something terrible happened. So Teddy brings a soldier who wants to see if Satera can really see the future, and if his king should advance or bring back his troops in a war. Satera is hesitant but gives in after some convincing from Teddy. She tries to give a prophecy and tells him to advance the soldiers, and the soldier thanks her and walks off. And you guessed it, Satera's prophecy was the cause of all the soldiers losing their lives because the enemy set up a trap for them and they were all killed. Worst cliffhanger ever! As a punishment, Satera was trapped in this cave for making false prophecies, and she is pondering her actions. And as she is pondering her actions, a young boy appears behind her, crying, saying that he needs to go home but can't because he was kicked out. The boy asks Satera if she wants to go home with him, and she thinks he may be God's messenger. And she confesses that she told false prophecies, and if she really had the power of true prophecy, all of the soldiers from that battle that she prophesies about wouldn't have died. And the young boy begins to glow and says for Satera to close her eyes. And she opens her eyes and can hear a song which may be a star singing, and asks why the boy is here on Earth. And before we can see who he is, we go back to the present. Oh, come on, Satera, it was getting good! And Satera was given a power to save the people of the world so she can repent for her sins, and when the King of Calamity is finally defeated, she will reach out to those who are lost now with the power of real prophecy. With those memories from Satera, we could break the illusion of the King of Calamity. Okay, that's great and all, Satera, but who's the kid? Our next goal is to meet up with Sage Marin, the purple-haired one, and after we defeat a boss and we see a shield on the ground, Marin picks up the shield and recognizes it as a soldier who served King Golek, the owner of Entertainment Island Lackland, and said that she had the same shield. We get a flashback that Marin was actually a soldier from King Golek of Lackland and was engaged to her fiance Randy and was looking forward to living with him. But when they were on a mission in Molinara Forest, they were attacked by Demon Shisha. Randy is on the ground apparently dead, and Marin is crying that they were going to stay together forever. She takes out her sword and is about to join him in the afterlife until the crying boy from Satera's flashback is there. Oh, please tell us who he is! I'm dying to know! He gives Marin the same story of how he can't go home and if she wants to come home with him, and he will give her anything. Unfortunately, Marin says it's too late to bring back Randy, and the boy uses his powers to bring him back to life. Dude, this kid is awesome. So if I can come home with you, will I get free popcorn? So with Randy back to life, the kid is about to reveal who he is, and we go back to the present. Aw man, foiled again for the second time. Marin says that the shield belongs to Randy and she has a mission to protect the world and will be back with Randy together again as a soldier. Our next goal is to meet up with Sagemaruie, who has also lost her memories and who is the white-haired one. So after we defeat a demon, Sagemaruie arrives and says that a starry pendant should have resonated with something in the area. Marue picks up what looks like a broken pendant and it seems similar to hers, and we get another flashback. So before she became a sage, Marue felt like she was a bird in a cage without freedom. So she had a serious illness and spent most of her days on medical treatment. Her pendant was made by her father, which enabled her to talk with her no matter how far away they were. Her uncle Shadel also had a pendant to communicate with them and would tell her tales of his adventures to cheer her up. However, Marue gets the bad news that her uncle Shadel hasn't come back from his adventures for the past few days and probably went to a dangerous place. Even though Marue was optimistic that Shadel would contact her again, he never did. Marue gets the bad news that Shadel's body was found in the back of the cave already deceased, and Marue breaks down saying that they were going to go on an adventure together when her illness was cured. Oh my god, I'm so sad. Marue and Uncle Shadel were about to go on an adventure together. But however, the crying boy comes back. Okay, I know how this is gonna go. He's gonna say, oh, will you come back with me? And then I'm gonna make everything better, and we're still not gonna know who he is. So after the boy gives his usual thing, Marue says that she wants the impossible, which is being able to walk because of her illness, and of course the boy comes over and heals Marue's illness so she can walk again. So Marue agrees to come home with him, and as you know by now, this means she will be fighting the King of Calamity as a sage, and we cut back to the present before he reveals himself. Who'da thunk it? So Marue says that her uncle Shadel was most likely killed in the same cave, and we gave Marue a chance to regain her memory, and now our final task is to talk to Cosette and Rhodia. After defeating some enemies, we finally meet up with Sage Rhodia and why she woke up as a sage. And she was in the same place and we get her flashback. So Rhodia and Cosette are running away from these enemies and they're sad that their hometown was destroyed. One of the enemies says that he'll end things quickly for them, but both Rhodia and Cosette end up in a cave with Cosette dead. Rhodia is on the verge of dying and you know who shows up. Yes, we all know what he's gonna say. Rhodia thinks about her wish but feels that it isn't right to bring back Cosette. However, the enemies find them again and plan to finish the job, and the young boy gets in front of them and says that everything is gonna be okay, and in a flash of light, all of the enemies are gone and Cosette comes back to life. So now we can find out who this boy really is. Come on! So we're about to find out, and then we go back to the present. Wait, I know who this kid is. Well, He's Kid Bruce Wayne, so he has to be Batman! Well, we still don't know who this kid is, but now Rhodia says it's time to settle things with the real King of Calamity. So we go back to the underworld and have our second battle with the King of Calamity, but this time Rhodia knows this isn't the real one. We still have to defeat the Shadow version before we can fight the real one. So we defeat the Shadow again, and Rhodia says we may be able to find the real one in the back of the palace. All of the sages arrive and summon the boy to us. Oh my god, now we can find out who he really is! So Rhodia says that the King of Calamity was once a king who had a good heart and tried to build peace in the world. Regardless of his good heart, he was taken by the source of darkness and turned into a monster who wanted to destroy everything. So this boy is the spirit of the king before he became the King of Calamity. The boy was the King of Calamity! Plot twist times 1,000 plus calamity! So the king's spirit took the form of a boy after it was exiled from his monster body and was sent to stop the power of darkness by turning all the women here into sages or princesses of the world. Well, we still don't have a name for the king, so we're gonna call the boy the True King. So the boy thanks us for bringing him here and says that everyone should live in a world where their wishes will come true. He also says that the king had 6 reasons to be led by the princesses of the world in order to gather at the underworld, and with all of us gathered here we can try to turn the king back to normal. However, 2 of the princesses were killed and we may not be able to turn the king back. So the True King says it may not be possible to defeat the real King of Calamity, but we have to try. The True King removes the illusion and we see what the true underworld is like. We see a door that leads to the true King of Calamity with Rhodia calling us the King of Time, and we enter to finally defeat the King of Calamity once and for all. We enter the door and fight one of the King of Calamity's guardians, and after defeating it, the true King of Calamity appears and kills the guardian, and we fight him in his true injured form. Even though we defeat the true King of Calamity, Rhodia and the rest of the princesses of the world appear and say since we can't truly defeat or turn the King of Calamity back to normal, they will seal him deep into the ground so he can never move again. So the true King gives Rhodia the power of the White Star Sword in order to seal the King of Calamity, which will truly save Astoltia. Rhodia says that the true King gave them hope in the depths of despair and their final wish is to protect all of Astoltia. Rhodia has no regrets, Cetera wants to make amends for her false prophecies, Maruie is glad that her memories were restored, and Marin wants to devote herself to the world that she loves. As a reward for defeating the King of Calamity, Rhodia gives us a Rura stone that will take us back to our first race starter town and tells us to never forget our hometown. So Rhodia and the rest of the princesses make it their last mission to finally seal away the King of Calamity. After nearly being attacked, Rhodia tries to remind the King of Calamity that he was once a great hero who fought for world peace, and she and the rest of the princesses seal him away as we see glimpses into their memories. Rhodia brings the sword down as they all sink into the ground, sealing themselves away with the King of Calamity as Rhodia apologizes to Cosette. After the ordeal is over, Cosette wakes up and we're back at Gakapuchi village. Cosette says she can't find Rhodia and sees shooting stars, saying that she can hear their voices and Astoltia is now saved. However, things aren't over yet when we talk to Cosette again, and she says that her sister Rhodia promised to come back and meet her at the beach. We wait a while, but sadly Rhodia never comes. 3 guards come up to us and say that they're from a certain kingdom, and when Cosette tells them her name, they kneel saying that they're awaiting her return as she is the princess to their kingdom. What? Plot twist! So Cosette is surprised and the guards say that she was way too young when their kingdom was destroyed and she is the future queen of the kingdom of Exaria. In the distance we see the ruins of Exaria, but the guards say that it will be rebuilt and they are awaiting the princess who will succeed the deceased king. Cosette says that Rhodia never mentioned that they were princesses, probably to hide their identities to escape from their enemies. So Cosette says that we told that her sister Rhodia wasn't coming back, and the guards ask if she has any possessions of Rhodia's. She pulls out a box with a ring inside, which the guards say that it's the ring of the Exaria royal family, which is the proof of the successor of the throne, and that Rhodia trusted Cosette to be the successor. Cosette doesn't think that she can be a queen and still wants to look for her sister. The guards obey her orders and still await her return as they leave. We go back to Gakapuchi village with Cosette. We then go to the underworld with Cosette so she can find her sister. I don't think that this is a place for a kid. We go to the area where the King of Calamity was sealed and Cosette calls out for her sister, but nothing happens. So Cosette leaves the royal ring on the ground and hopes that Rhodia will come back to wear it one day. As Cosette walks away, the ring shines and we end up in another dimension, and Cosette hears her sister. She says that she understands and that Rhodia shouldn't worry. And Cosette says that thanks to us she was able to talk to her sister again and that we should go back to the beach. We arrive at the beach again and the guards reappear. Cosette tells them that she spoke with her sister Rhodia and says that she won't come home right away because of her very important role and was asked to do something by Rhodia's request. That request is to rebuild the kingdom of Exaria, and when Rhodia comes home, she has a place to return to and that Cosette will become the queen. And the guards kneel and welcome their new queen. All hail Queen Cosette! And the guards agreed to pick up Cosette when they ensured the safety of the path to the new Exaria kingdom, and Cosette thanks us and is glad that we were able to help her as she stays in Gakapuchi village for a while. So after this we meet up with Teddy on the Ogre continent, and Teddy is thinking of doing the bungee cord jump and actually does it. Bazid, the ogre who runs the bungee cord, freaks out a bit and catches Teddy with the cord. Teddy brags that he was able to make the jump but is scolded by Bazid to never jump without the rope. And after this we take Teddy to the Valley of Injuries on the Poppet/Pukulipo continent in order to battle a monster. Good to be brave at his age. So we go to the Valley of Injuries and Teddy thinks he can defeat the monster on his own. Whoa, don't toot your own horn here, Teddy. However, Teddy trips and we fight the bird boss. Leave the fighting to the adults, Teddy. After we defeat the boss, Teddy is glad that we protected him and says that he wants to be brave for Satera because he always believed in her even when everyone in town thought she was lying about her prophecies. He's happy that he was able to make Satera's prophecies come true and gives us a gift, also saying that he's awaiting Satera's return at Lendor. And our next destination is the Weddy/Wetling continent to talk to Marin's fiance Randy and that he's planning their wedding soon. He takes out a ring that he's planning to give to Marin and the priest commences the wedding ceremony regardless of Marin not being there. However, the wedding ring flashes and floats in the air and disappears. Best long distance wedding ever! Randy thanks us for helping him with his wedding ceremony and knows that Marin is watching over him and prays for her safe return. He gives us 3 months of his salary as a gift, but then King Golek from Lackland arrives with flowers and congratulates Randy on his wedding, saying that his love has reached Marin from afar. And King Golek gives Randy a gift and we get a mini medal. And also the special gift that King Golek gave Randy was also another mini medal. And our next goal is to get the pendant from Marue fixed thanks to Samuel from the Dwarf continent, and we can finally hear the last words from her uncle Shadel. And Shadel says that he was mortally injured by a monster and can't move anymore. He also says that if Marue's legs have healed, she should go to the Molina coast west of Verenard, but apologizes for lying to her that her legs would eventually be healed. And he says that she has a wonderful personality and that she should believe in herself, praying that his voice will reach her someday. So Samuel is glad he got to hear the last words from his best friend Shadel, and then we hear the last words of Marue herself through her pendant. She says that a miracle came to her and that she was finally able to walk. Even though she was happy, she felt a great deal of anxiety knowing that she had to complete a task, which was stopping the King of Calamity, and that she may never come back. So she knew that her uncle Shadel was lying to her about her legs being able to heal, but always had hope that they would go to Molina Coast together and see the lighthouse again. But Samuel is a bit sad that neither of their messages were able to reach each other in the past, and requests that we bring the pendants to the lighthouse on Molina Coast because the feelings of both Shadel and Marue are contained in the pendants. We go to the dock near the lighthouse on Molina Coast with Samuel, and he takes out the pendants and then they suddenly begin to glow. Both pendants rise into the sky and vanish, so Samuel takes it as a sign that Shadel and Marue have finally been reunited and are happy to be on the beach fulfilling the wishes of their pendants, thus finally ending the myth quests. Excuse me, I got something in my eye. So once you finish the myth quest, you can refight the King of Calamity with a book of strong warriors where you can team up with 7 other people for a raid battle to get Q-Side points and exchange them for Fukubiki tickets. So overall, the myth quests were a great and emotional side thing to do in Dragon Quest X, and while we don't know the true fates of Rhodia, Satera, Marue, and Marin right now, I'd like to assume they would eventually return to Astoltia because man, these quests really gave me the feels and I'm sure they'll give them to you too. And hopefully we'll see their fates in another expansion of the game. Alright guys, so that ends this episode on awesome video game memories about Dragon Quest X, the King of Calamity saga. And remember, it's the King of Calamity, not Estark.
Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure to check out these other videos, and also make sure to follow me on social media and check out the official Battle Geek Plus website. Take care.